Hello and welcome to the Oracle Sports Podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Tobey Blair. Usually we're joined by Mythil, but he is a little busy today. I'm the assistant sports editor of the Oracle, joined by Ricardo Cuomo.
How we doing?
A correspondent here, and the man behind the camera, Zahir Nelson.
Hello.
All good. So today on our agenda, we're talking some football. North Texas, Bulls pull off a 63 to 36 win, and then looking forward to FAU. We'll get a little bit into the AP poll, nothing too egregious there, but then we're gonna move it over men's and women's basketball. It's getting about that time this year, but go ahead and talk to me a little bit about North Texas, Ricky.
Well, what is there to say that we didn't see in the game, right? It was, frankly, the first half was a little slow for USF, and it's the same thing that we've been seeing over the past few weeks with this team. It just feels like they can't play the whole four quarters of good football. When they start with a good game, they end up playing badly, and when they start badly, they end up having a good game. And it happened this week. I mean, we saw a team that went into halftime tied at 21 with North Texas, and I was actually out with friends watching the game, and my friend told me that he said, this team is not built for this type of games, and I said, just watch, just wait until the second half. This USF will find a way to turn it around in the second half, and they did. They scored, I think it was 21 unanswered, which is a really good tally, if you ask me. But yeah, I just think that this team, and it's the same thing I said when I was in the podcast, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, this team needs to find a way to play the whole 4 quarters of football and, actually finish the games that they start playing good and actually find a way to start the games well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. In my 2 years here at the Oracle, USF's slow start has always been a kind of angle. But this game, it was especially frustrating for Bulls fans because you have an immediate fumble interception. But after all that, going into the half, it's somehow, I mean, if you told me that a football team had 3 turnovers in a quarter, I'd be like, okay, well, they're down a lot. Somehow they weren't. So, I guess interesting way to fight there, but it was certainly interesting, and a lot of it was in terms of USF picking up their own turnovers. Obviously, Mestamaker, who had not thrown an interception yet, he had thrown 11 touchdowns and no interceptions, threw 3 interceptions against USF. So it was super interesting to see how 2 teams who have been very, very good at what they do. Obviously, North Texas going into this game was one of the most one of the highest scoring offenses in the country.
They were favored, actually.
They were favored, and here we were maybe a little shocked to see that. Like we talked about North Texas's quality of opponents last week, but it was interesting to see from the perspective of just USF finding a way to stay in the game, but obviously in true Alex Golis fashion, he was not pleased at the outcome. Even though you win by however many, I'm not a good mathematician, but you win by a lot, and still it wasn't enough just because of all of the missed opportunities. Byron Brown has had such an interesting year because in the same game that he goes 22 for 28 with 3 touchdown passes, he has a pair of fumbles and an interception. Not what you want to see out of a quarterback, but I guess if you make it work, you make it work. The issue likely going forward with the Bulls is going to be that eventually your luck is going to run out. You can only give another team so many chances before they take advantage. Obviously, you have FAU next week, Memphis in 2 weeks. I guess FAU this Saturday going forward, and Memphis the next. So you've got to clean it up from a football perspective of you can't do that and get away with it forever.
Yeah, I just think, like you said, UNT is not as good as people say they were. I mean, yeah, they beat Wazoo, but I mean, Wazoo hasn't really proved much this year, and if you look at the rest of the schedule, I don't have it off the top of my head, but they haven't played quality teams, and that showed when they played USF. I mean, like you said, USF has made a lot of mistakes in the game. I mean, 3 interceptions, fumbles by Byron Brown. I mean, they were all over the place. It was just a sloppy game from USF. And the fact that they got away with it just speaks on how overrated UNT were. I mean, the fact that they were favored to win the game by 2.5 points, I just think that is, I just don't agree with that. But I'll say it was a fun game to watch. I mean, Christian Neptune passing touchdown. I mean, Cole Skinner rushing touchdown. When have you ever seen a lineman get the ball at the 1 yard line and punch it in for a touchdown? I have never seen that.
Yeah, it was maybe Refrigerator Perry kind of esque back in the 80s for anybody from Chicago. But North Texas is we talked about this. Their schedule was very interesting. Week 1, they put up 51 against Lamar. I don't know where that is.
Texas.
It's there you go.
Really small school in Texas, but yeah, they are in Texas.
Well, Ricky knows. I don't. Western Michigan, Washington State, Army, South Alabama, all wins, and then you lose to South Florida. But what I think is actually really interesting is Washington State lost to North Texas 59-10. And then this week, the same week that USF beat North Texas, Washington State only lost to number 5 Ole Miss by 3 points. So I can't say I tuned into that game. I'm not an AP poll voter like our friend from last episode, Cookie Riley. I watch about 1 or 2 games, and I can't say that I was super excited for Ole Miss versus Washington State. But that's very interesting to kind of look at. But I think in general for USF, going forward, looking at FAU, you've got an interesting game that I don't want to call a trap game, because FAU is 3-3. But I think that going back to last year with Alex Golish kind of turning away then FAU head coach Tom Herman, super interesting. I think there's a lot of bad blood on one side, and the other side doesn't seem to care too much about the whole thing. But FAU has proven to be an interesting football team this season. Obviously, they have Caden Veldkamp. He has almost 1,800 yards in the season, which is, through 7 games is a lot. I guess through 6 games for them. But that is a lot. He's going at a 65% clip. He's averaging 7.1 yards a pass. It'll certainly be an interesting game for USF. I think that if we've seen anything from this team so far, it's that they don't seem like they're going to overlook an opponent. Obviously, for a lot of college football fans, you're looking more to USF Memphis, which should be on game day. Very unlikely now. And my camera went off. She's back. Should be on game day. Probably won't now within a local 11 a.m. kickoff, 12 p.m. for people on the East Coast. But a lot of people are looking forward to that. I don't think that this football team is one that is going to. I think they know the task at hand. Obviously, homecoming, FAU. I'm sure from their perspective, maybe you've got to beat up on little brother a little bit.
Well, we're talking about bad blood. You know who JJ Metz is?
Do tell.
JJ Metz is, according to his Twitter bio or X, whatever you want to call it, he's the youngest credentialed media member in sports for the Dolphins and FAU. And
I'm sure he has some good opinions.
A couple of days ago, he went on Twitter. Actually, yesterday, he went on Twitter and he said, "Can someone explain to me why Lil Bro University is called South Florida? They're literally in Northwest Florida." First of all, Lil Bro University. Are we serious right now?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, JJ Metz, man, FAU was in Conference USA until 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What was it?
I'm not big on my FAU lore.
I don't even know. Me neither. But like the fact that you're calling USF Lil Bro University, I think that's a little bit crazy, if you ask me, considering everything that went down with Alex Golish and Tom Herman last year. It seemed to me like one of the coaches was, not trying to create a beef, but the other coach was on his tail, just screaming in his ear. So I don't know, man. Someone seems like little bro to me, and it ain't USF.
Yeah, it was. This whole thing has been very interesting. It was. It started with lipstick on a pig, which, if you know, you know. I guess I don't feel like explaining that whole thing. But ever since Central Florida left for the Big 12, it seems like USF has kind of not had a rival. FAU certainly vying to be that one. I'm not sure how. I don't know that USF is. It didn't seem like last year Alex Golesh really wanted to deal with that or talk about that in any way. But for the viewers, just so we can clear this up, the University of South Florida is called that because at the time it was founded, it was the southernmost public university. You get that a lot on USF Twitter. I try and stay away from the JJ Metz of the world. I stay a little closer to the Joey Knights and get my reliable, unbiased information. But anyway, with the football part of it, what's on the field, FAU presents an interesting challenge. They have Easton Messer, a very good long kind of. He's an interesting wide receiver. He's 502 yards on the year in comparison to Chaz Nimrod's 466. He leads FAU and Nimrod leads USF, but it's going to be an interesting game. Like I said, I don't know that I want to say it's a trap game, but it will definitely test. It's maybe a tune-up, maybe a get your stuff right before you face a really good ranked Memphis team.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Mithil, the guy that's supposed to be here but isn't, he was in Boca Raton last Saturday covering the game as part of the broadcast crew, and he texted me and he said, FAU looks really good, but for what it's worth, it's against UAB. So yeah, I just think FAU has had the chance to play some really I wouldn't say mediocre teams, but like they haven't played the best teams that they can find. They did play Memphis. They lost pretty badly. And I just think that, listen, I've been a student of this university for 3 years now. I know that this team will find the way to lose the most random games ever. And I think FAU is one of those games that just seems really random. And just because the history between these two teams, in the first game that USF played FAU, I think, was that the year that FAU beat USF pretty badly?
That would have been Golish's first year.
Yeah, I know. FAU beat USF pretty badly that year. And then last year, it was the opposite. USF beat FAU pretty badly. So I'm just expecting this game to be I don't think it's gonna be as easy for USF as the people say it's gonna be. I think USF has to come prepared, has to actually not make too many mistakes, because against UNT that's what we saw, and that's what we've been seeing all season long. Too many mistakes on both sides of the ball, and that's just not gonna fly when they play Memphis or when they play some bigger teams down the road.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. For what it's worth, FAU's 3 losses are to Maryland, Florida International, which I heard they were very upset about. That's apparently a big Florida rivalry.
That's their actual rivalry.
Yeah, there's an actual rivalry. I'm not here to judge what is and what isn't a rivalry. But FAU versus FIU seems like that was actually a good game. I remember watching that game. It was interesting. And then, of course, 55-26 to Memphis. But Memphis is doing something special this year, and that'll be interesting to see when they match up. Coming off a 53-33 win against UAB, I think that to Ricky's point about how USF seems to find a way to win the big games or play the big games close, and then those smaller games that you're supposed to win, they don't. USF is an 18.5 point favorite in this game. such an interesting season for them so far, but they've I think that the difference has been USF's maturity as even compared to last year. I remember watching USF versus Rice last year, and it was the game to go 7-5 instead of 6-6. And
Izzy Carter, man.
And Izzy Carter,
That was
Izzy Carter
special.
came in at the end and showed why he was a valued quarterback now at Norfolk State. But I think that I would maybe look away from that point just because this team has shown, in years past, it's been the ability to play close in the big game. Obviously, you have Alabama last year. You play close until the last 6 minutes of that game. Miami, you hold them close in the first half. 2 years ago, Alabama again. But this year, they've shown that they have the ability to win the big game. Boise State and Florida, being those two kind of like, win. Yeah, I don't know the word, but kind of those wins that build your resume. Maybe resume builders is what I'm looking for. But it's been interesting to see what is going on. It'll be interesting to see. They held their own against, and by held their own, I mean won by a lot against South Carolina State, against Charlotte, even North Texas, which was a team that was supposed to give USF their first real in-conference fight. Didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see. The other thing is that ultimately in college football, winning over and over and over and over again is really difficult. It's very hard to do. And USF had some injuries last week to Chaz Nimrod and so on, where it's like, well, maybe this can be a little taxing on them. It'll be interesting to see. But for now, we can move to a subject where it'll be interesting to see this too. USF men's and women's basketball, both at the top of the preseason projections this season. Obviously, men's basketball coming off a really interesting year after the death of Amir Abdur-Rahim, and then Ben Fletcher comes in, go 13-19. Not the year that they had envisioned after that really special 1 year run with Abdur-Rahim. And now you have Hodgson come in, Brian Hodgson, and it seems like, maybe spirits are back up. The recruiting was really special. And on the women's side, Jose Fernandez is back again. He's been here for
years.
a long, long, long time. Super interesting to see, but tell me more about it, Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wrote an article on this. So you, person watching this, go to usforacle.com. Go to sports, go to basketball, read my article. It's pretty insightful. But the story here is obviously, women's basketball. I think it's the 6th consecutive year that they've been topping the rankings, the preseason rankings. And they made the NCAA tournament last year. It's this is a really, 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 really good team. And you have Jose Fernandez at the helm, who is, well, obviously everyone has seen how good of a coach he is. He is in his 26th season this year. He has, coached some of the best players to come out of this program. And obviously there are some important losses. I mean, you have Sammy Puisis, who had a brief stint with the Chicago Sky of the WNBA, and Mama Dembele, who also graduated. But you held on to Carla Brito, who was named the American Preseason Player of the Year, which is really good. And Lauren Putu, who was last year's American Most Improved Player. I think that this team really has the talent to, make it back to March Madness, and who knows, maybe they could win another conference title. And on the men's side, well, obviously it's been pretty up and down for this team. I think everyone thought that after the team got Amir to coach him, that he was gonna be leading the team for a long time. But life happens, and he unfortunately passed and couldn't be here for any longer. So the team had to improvise. They found Ben Fletcher as an interim coach, and all things considered, I think he did a really good job of leading the team after such a tragedy, and obviously you lost a lot of players. You lost Jaden Reed, who went to Northwestern, and he was he was a starting point guard. He was a really special player, but I think that all things considered, he did a really solid job. And now that the team has Brian Hodgson, who is considered one of the best recruiters in the game, he brought a 4-star recruit in Damian Collins, who came in from LSU. He also played for Kentucky. And according to 24/7 Sports, USF has the 38th best recruiting class in the country coming into the year. So I think that the other teams in the conference are finally taking notice of what USF is doing, how they've managed to turn things around since last year, and they're giving finally the respect they deserve. I mean, number 2 in the conference is not a small thing, especially considering that number 1 is Memphis, who I think won the conference last year. So I think that this team is posed to have a really good season. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. The men's team is almost completely new to USF. It will be interesting to see what Hodgson can do. Obviously, his game has been as a recruiter, so that's going to be a very interesting thing to see. You can get the players, but now in this, obviously coming from Arkansas State, maybe a step up to the American Conference with USF, you can get the players, but now can you make them win games? That'll be super interesting to see. One thing that we're going to take a step back here. One thing that I forgot to go into, I got so excited to talk about men's basketball that I forgot about the AP poll. I will say, personally for me, I don't have many qualms. This week on our podcast, we will be upset about Notre Dame again, but other than that, South Florida at 19, I have no issue with that. The only thing I have is that is Notre Dame being the number 13 team in the nation is a little crazy. And then Miami should be number 1, but maybe you can't make them number 1 now. They should have been number 1 a long time ago. Other than that, I don't know that I've got anything for the AP poll. We talked to Koki Riley. We're putting that behind us. We're gonna find a new AP poll voter to pick on next week. But for now, we're putting that behind us. When basketball AP poll comes around, maybe we'll find somebody else.
Yeah, the thing that I want to talk about is taking a look back at the preseason poll. It was number 1 was Texas, number 2 was Penn State, number 3 was Ohio State, and number 4 was Clemson.
Clemson.
3 of those 4 teams. Well, Texas is back in the poll, but last week 3 of those 4 teams were not ranked. And obviously Penn State is a dumpster fire right now. They just fired their coach.
Never thought I'd see the day that James Franklin wasn't coaching Penn State, but that was like 3-3 is. If they think 3-3 is bad, wait till good for you, I guess. Go for it.
Yeah. But I just want to point out that the preseason poll doesn't mean anything, because Texas was number 1 in the country in the preseason poll, and now they are 21st, after they lost to Florida 2 weeks ago, and beat Oklahoma last week. But they did lose to Florida, who lost to USF. So. I don't know, just some food for thought there. And then Penn State, like you said, I never thought I'd see the day that James Franklin wouldn't be coaching Penn State anymore, but here we are. I guess 3-3 is just too bad for a coach to continue coaching a team. And, well, Clemson, there's nothing to say about Clemson that hasn't been said yet. I don't have anything to say about that, really.
The James Franklin thing is insanity. Maybe I'm too much of a conservative administrator in my mind there. I'm not going to take the chance there. But to fire a coach who has had as much success as James Franklin over more than a decade now at Penn State, I understand that he hasn't been able to win the big game, but he's consistently made it to the big game. I think maybe Penn State has taken their success a little for granted. If they think that going to they made the semifinals last year. If they think making the semifinals of the college football playoff and then going 3-3 because you have Drew Aller behind under center is bad, wait until you find out how bad it can get, because it can get real bad real quick.
And it's not like it could have been any better, man, because Bo Pribula threw a really bad interception to lose the game against, who was it, last week?
That's a great question that I will find out the answer to while you continue to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm blanking right now, but it was Mizzou. Pribula threw an interception, and he had a wide open receiver. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen the clip of the receiver just going because he was wide open, and Pribula just completely missed the throw. So I think that even if Pribula stayed in Penn State, the situation would not have been any better.
We should not be taken seriously. They played Alabama. What are we doing, guys? Jesus Christ. I mean, whatever. Hey, that's my bad. That's on me as the host. I should know who, Alabama versus Mizzou. But super interesting game. Alabama versus Mizzou was a very interesting game. The Red River shootout. I refuse to call it the Red River rivalry. That's not the name of that. What is going on? What happened to John Mateer? I feel like however many weeks ago, before he broke his hand, he was the Heisman. He was the guy that was like, everyone was like, yeah, I mean, he's going to win the Heisman. It wasn't even like a debate. Like last year, it was kind of like this huge debate up all the way until the ceremony, and even after. A few weeks ago, it was like, yeah, it's John Mateer. There's got to be something lingering there, because he did not look himself. And Texas steps up to get back in the rankings after a really bad loss to Florida. What's going on with Florida, by the way? You beat Texas and you lose to Texas A&M.
Well, Texas A&M is a really good team, man.
They are really good, but so is Texas. How do you go out and beat Texas like that and then not even play A&M close? I mean, what an interesting year it has been. What a crazy year in college football it's been. USC dropped out of the rankings a little bit ago, and then
they're back now.
Put the hurt on Michigan. So it's just been a really weird year. And I don't want to drag this on too long, but how can we not talk about Indiana, Oregon? Every week now, it's starting to see like Oregon's signature win over Penn State was maybe not as good as you'd like it to be. Penn State doesn't look that good. Indiana, though,
they have a case to be the number one team in the country, if we're being honest.
They do, and it's so crazy because after last year, I remember Indiana makes it to the college football playoff. Everybody loses their minds, and then they get killed. And it's like, okay, well, it's just, it's Indiana. You had to let them in. It was literally like we should have let, 4-loss Alabama in over Indiana. I don't know that any loss Alabama wants to see Indiana this year, because they look like a stellar football team.
Over 2-loss Miami as well, which is
yeah, well,
very sad.
Maybe don't lose to Syracuse.
Yeah,
they really blew that one up in the end of it. But we won't talk about Miami last year. They're really good this year. They should probably be the number one team in the nation. But anyhow, our last topic of the day, we have Ricky here, who is our women's soccer beat reporter, and he has a little bit to talk about there with the state of USF's women's soccer so far this season.
Yeah, last time I came to the podcast, I said that USF was having a darn good year, man. They went undefeated, well, almost undefeated in September. No, what am I saying? They had 5 straight wins dating back to August 31st until the 18th of September. in which they only allowed 2 goals. It was in a game against Temple. Other than that, they had a clean sheet for 4 of the 5 games. I mean, it was a really good winning streak for USF. And then let's say they haven't been up to par lately. They went into a really tough game against number 11 Memphis on the road. They lost that one 3-0. I mean, it's a really tough loss, but what are you going to do? It's the number 11 team in the country. But then they headed back to Corbett Stadium to face Tulsa, who I don't know the standings, but they're not. Yeah, no, they're
no Memphis.
They're no Memphis. They're 6th in the American Conference right now, and they went into halftime leading 3-1, and Tulsa came back to tie the game in the last 5 minutes.
I was at that game. It was pretty interesting to see them lose a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, no, that I mean, it's rough. It's rough, and then
Feels like 2016.
Yeah, does it? But then the following 2 games, they lost 2-1 against UTSA and 3-1 against Rice. So that marks now 4 games following the 5-game winning streak that they haven't been able to win a game. They have 3 ties and 3 losses and 1 tie. Excuse me. And they have allowed 6, 9, 11 goals in 4 games. I mean, it's been rough. It's been rough for women's soccer. And I think that they have 4 games left in the season. Their record is 6-7-1. I really don't want any jokes made out of this. But yeah, I think they need to turn it around if they want to have a shot at the conference title. Even then, Memphis is undefeated right now. They're 12-0-2, so 12 wins and 2 ties. They look really, really good. They beat USF 3-0, and USF, I mean, they just need to turn it around, man. I mean, you're coming off a 5-game winning streak to go winless 4 games in a row. It's been rough in conference play, because all the games that they won, except for Temple and East Carolina, were out of conference games. So yeah, I just think that they have some work to do to turn around and look for better results in the future.
Well, thank you for that. Always nice to get somebody on here who talks about something that me and Mithil don't talk about. Next week, speaking of Mithil, hopefully he'll be back, and you, the viewer, will get your beloved host back, and you won't have to listen to me. But that's about all we have for you today. Check out usforacle.com for all of our articles, all of our updates, things like that. And thank you so much for watching.